When does a game become a story? More specifically, when does a game of civilization become a story? I am fascinated with trying to understand the precise moment this strategy game takes a life of its own, where we somehow, for some reason, start constructing an imagined narrative of our burgeoning city into a sweeping epic. This draw on our imagination is one of the many reasons we just want one more turn. This story starts to take shape in our minds when we have to settle our second city. Do we go to sea or to the floodlands or the mountains or to a natural wonder, or somewhere distant but strategically vital, or close but near a neighbor so we can stop their expansion, or do we settle on a key resource that we need to advance our technology faster? This is where I thought our imagination kicks off because of centering it on many meaningful choices. But I asked a friend this question blindly. The response wasn't what I expected, that our story of civilization starts even sooner than that, either as soon as we load in or in the founding of our first city. So part of me wondered, could it start even earlier than that? Triggering a player's imagination is one of the core immersive factors of civilization. Sid Meier discusses the importance of imagination in his 2010 GDC talk here.
No matter how good your graphics are, no matter how cool your technology is, what's happening in the player's mind, the player can always visualize something more compelling, more dynamic. So the goal of everything we do is to make something happen in the player's imagination that is really cool. And often we don't have to literally show everything in the game to make that happen. If the player can imagine what's going on, imagine what Napoleon is doing when he's not actually on the screen, imagine what's going on behind the scenes, then we save a lot of money by not having to create all those assets and do all those things.
If you're familiar with these genres, in grand strategy or historical strategy games, we often find ourselves interacting with AI in such a way that we can never really see everything they do. It's not like some boss from our favorite action Souls-like game where we need to see and know every moveset. Rather, in these games, we catch small glimpses of our opponents. Is Napoleon going after the Scythians here? No? He's attacking a city-state? Why? What are the Scythians doing then? What are the Incas doing on this other side of the ocean? These small questions can emerge from our singular opening introduction, but the questions are ways to help us be immersed and to help a story emerge. In fact, this constant curiosity and wondering and questioning is what fuels our imagination through a playthrough of Civ or Crusader Kings or Total War. Will I build a wonder this time? Can I negotiate an alliance? What will I find in this corner of the map? My original idea of founding your second city is what catalyzes an evolving series of meaningful choices. And if you make enough of these choices, from there, we get this experience that is called an emergent narrative. It is not a prescribed story we are playing through, rather we are making a whole bunch of choices, reacting to the game and its fiction, and progressing through systems and mechanics, and being curious and imaginative the whole time. The story cleverly emerges through our own play. Ironically, the developers of Civilization noted how important this is and tried to systematize it in Civ 7. I don't really understand the point of putting in a system of narrative when the whole point is for storytelling to not be mechanized, but imagined through player decision making. But they're getting paid the big bucks and I'm just an armchair YouTuber. Anyways, this emergent narrative moment will, I suspect, be when the story of civilization kicks off for some people, maybe most people. But for others, you may have noticed how a lot of choice is framed as a response to a question. Choice and curiosity is what drives the part in our brain fueling our imagination, but I think there is a core question from the very beginning of the game, where perhaps before you have even loaded it up, before founding the first city, it all begins with a what if. Civilization and some of its peers are some of the few tools we have as gamers, as people, as citizens, to explore something called counterfactual history. This is rooted in counterfactual imagination, suggested by scholar Tom Apperley out of Deakin University in Victoria, Australia, which is a creative process where players use historical games to negotiate the terrain of mass media popular history according to their own predilections, and challenges the official hegemonic history? What if Saladin prevents the sack of Baghdad by the Mongols? What if I play a militaristic Canada with nukes? Counterfactual history has always been a carrot in game advertising for this genre of video games, in the early days, all the way back with Civ 1 or Age of Empires or Rise of Nations. These advertisements, these questions, should be no surprise, because it's pretty compelling to provoke these alternative histories. And it's absolutely engrossing to try to play through them, to be a witness or an actor in the recreation of a history, or to do something totally gonzo and outrageous, or, as some game designers might suggest, we can critique our past through something counterfactual. We can engage with big ideas in our history through creating something alternative through play. We can engage with ideas of gender and diplomacy and colonialism and imperialism and religion. We can see our own histories in a game and then imagine them as something different. Personally, my favorite examples of these counterfactual histories is my forever ongoing campaign in Crusader Kings 2, where Ireland conquers the British Isles, not the English. Take that, redcoats. Or I always enjoy playing as the Maori and Cree in Civilization 6 and getting a cultural victory. There's something satisfying about an indigenous culture becoming more dominant than the European empires. Part of what enraptures me is getting to play through these alternative, counterfactual, imagined histories. And while they are not always the deepest or most correct way to view and critique history, Civilization and other grand strategy games offer such a breadth of options that I think we should overlook their lack of intricate depth. They satisfy the idea of curiosity. It should then be no surprise that for some, me among them, the story of Civilization actually begins at the game setup screen, that I imagine a what-if scenario, codified by picking a civilization and then a map type, and then thinking of what question I want to explore and discover through my style of play. As Sid Meier said, this play on our imagination is more powerful than many tools at a developer's disposal. They didn't have to show me anything, but just show me a list of civilizations and a promise to play a 4X game, and I'm all ready to go until the sun comes up. I'd argue that the success of many historical strategy games are because they entice our imagination, that they operate on this wavelength that is similar to Minecraft or Sims. And while some players may just find the one more turn gameplay captivating enough, I bet there are a significant number of us who have this imagined story, fueled by curiosity and history as our main motivator for play. Because building on Sid Meier, Dan Pinchbeck, creator of the indie hit Dear Esther, said in a talk in 2017 at Nottingham University,
they're doing that. If they're actually doing an awful lot of the play up in their heads, you don't have to do as much on the screen, because actually they're having just as much game experience. It's just that you're not stimulating them with it. They're thinking about it themselves. And this came through and became the kind of like the mantra that we've taken away from this game, is that the most powerful tool you have in your toolkit as a designer is the player's imagination. And we've got for years...
And so, when does a game of Civilization become a story? Whether it's the setup screen, the epic of Sean Bean's voice, seeing your settler, founding your first city, or your second, the first war or the first congress or the first circumnavigation, the story of Civilization begins the moment you first start to imagine.